O áudio tá bom o áudio? Vou guardar só seu ok para poder começar. Ou já posso começar? Então tá bom. Pessoal, boa tarde para todo mundo que está aqui presente conosco e para todos que estão na live, em casa, para poder assistir essa palestra do Dr. Markus conosco. O Sede Bebidas dá boas-vindas ao Dr. Markus, que disponibilizou seu tempo para poder vir e nos compartilhar conosco seu tempo, seu conhecimento. Dar boas-vindas também a todos os associados, a todos vocês que estão presentes. Gostaria, junto com o Cristiano, basicamente falar algumas coisas aqui bem rápidas. Desde que a gente retomou da pandemia, nós estamos retomando um ritmo aqui de uma agenda mais forte no sindicato. Vou passar a palavra para o Cristiano daqui a pouco. E nessa agenda, focada em bebidas, não somente em cerveja, a gente tem procurado buscar inovação, buscar um aparato também jurídico, administrativo, para apoiar cada vez mais o associado. Então, dentre as várias iniciativas que estão sendo tomadas pelo Cristiano, pelo sindicato, ele vai falar daqui a pouco, nós temos aí mais um grande workshop no mês que vem, para falar sobre tecnologia e inovação, de forma geral, né, Cristiano, de bebidas. Temos um apoio jurídico que o sindicato está acabando de costurar aí com o mercado, para poder termos uma coraça, vamos dizer assim, para o associado. Na hora que o associado receber uma demanda, ele vai ter o sindicato como um porto de partida ali, através dessa consultoria jurídica, para ajudá-lo a resolver a demanda, e, na sequência, a consultoria assume o trabalho e dá direcionamento efetivo para isso. Também tem uma demanda do SEBRAE, um convênio com o SEBRAE, para poder falar de inovação e tecnologia. Basta preencher um formulário, né, Cristiano, para entender o que a empresa precisa, o que o associado está buscando, internaliza isso, o SEBRAE avalia e faz contato. Então, em termos de abrangência de serviço, em termos de trabalho, nós estamos avançando aí fortes para poder dar mais assistência e estar mais perto de vocês nessa agenda de 2024. Não é isso, Cristiano? Passar a palavra.
Obrigado, Fernando. Boa tarde a todos que estão aqui presencialmente e que estão online. Agradecer ao Dr. Markus pela presença. Hoje, como o Fernando disse, a gente inicia uma série de atividades que a gente vai realizar ao longo desse ano, visando, obviamente, desenvolver o setor de bebidas como um todo. É sempre bom lembrar que o Sinde Bebidas representa, do ponto de vista legal, todas as bebidas, né? Com exceção do vinho, tem um sindicato específico, né? Mas, com exceção do vinho, a gente representa todas as bebidas. E é muito importante a gente estar atento à evolução que o mercado de bebidas vem acontecendo nesse mercado, né? O mercado que está se transformando de uma maneira muito rápida. Hoje a gente tem ações para todos os segmentos de bebidas que a gente representa, embora especificamente essa ação seja um pouco mais voltada para as bebidas alcoólicas mistas. Como o Fernando falou, a gente está desenvolvendo um projeto de um grande seminário no mês de abril para tratar de inovação em bebidas, aí tratando todas as bebidas que o sindicato apresenta. A gente pretende fazer um grande evento aqui no auditório da FIEMG. Já de pronto convidamos todos vocês, em breve a gente vai enviar maiores informações. É um evento ampliado com foco em inovação. Como o Fernando disse também, a gente já está preparando algumas novidades em relação a esse ano, principalmente na parte tributária, né? A gente já dá um suporte muito grande na parte tributária para todos vocês. É muito importante todos estarem atentos e terem um planejamento tributário de forma muito efetiva, e a gente tem procurado fazer isso de uma forma muito grande. A gente tem encontrado uma dificuldade muito grande nos contadores de entendimento da parte contábil, fiscal das indústrias de bebidas, então a gente tem atuado muito forte nesse segmento. Em relação a ações de mercado, a gente também está com 2 projetos. Um é um evento um pouco maior, ampliado no Expo Minas. Nós realizamos em 2018 um grande evento, em outubro de 2008, no Expo Minas, e não conseguimos realizar novamente em função da pandemia, mas estamos em entendimentos com o Expo Minas para realizar esse ano ainda um grande evento para o setor de bebidas. Recentemente, um projeto nosso de um evento também foi aprovado num edital de feiras da FIEMG, e vamos conseguir realizar um evento no estacionamento do Porcão, provavelmente no mês de junho ou julho, e todos serão convidados a participar. Bom, de uma maneira geral, assim, são muitas iniciativas, muitas ações, mas é muito importante que vocês participem, vocês demandem para o sindicato. A gente enviou na semana passada um formulário para levantamento de demandas e é muito importante que vocês respondam. A gente está aberto aí a novas parcerias com o Sebrae, com a própria FIEMG, com outros parceiros, para desenvolver ações que sejam efetivas para vocês. Mas é muito importante que vocês nos demandem naquilo que é mais importante para vocês, nas suas dores, nos seus gargalos. Então, convidamos todos vocês a estarem conosco nessa jornada, né, iniciando aqui hoje com essa apresentação, com essa palestra, que embora seja um pouco mais técnica, mas ela está muito antenada com aquilo que o mercado vem trazendo vem demandando. Né? Então, mais uma vez, agradecer ao Marco, vou passar a palavra para ele, e uma boa palestra para todos.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the nice and kind words. Yeah, thank you very much for having me here. I'm Markus Ernst from Germany, so unfortunately my Portuguese is not really existing, so I have to do it in English. If you want, you can also ask questions in German, but yeah, maybe it's even harder than English. I'm from Haas. We are a hop trader in Germany, the world's biggest hop trader. I'm part of the Product Solutions team, and 2 or 3 years ago, we decided to focus also on beverages and the usage of hops outside of beer, because we saw over the last years that the beer, which was drunken in Europe, especially in Europe, but in general over the world, is decreasing. So we need to find also ways to make people aware of hops for other beverages. And this is what I'm going to talk about today. Shortly to introduce Barth Haas to you, so who we are. The Barth Haas group is the world-leading hop merchant. We have about a third of the whole hop market, which we control. And we are a family-owned company. Our history is now, this year, 230 years old. And we are nearly active on every continent of this world. And everywhere where hop is grown, we will source hops from. What we do, we are a kind of aligned from the breeding to the final production. So we ensure that the quality is already defined at the farm, so that we can ensure that you will get high quality hops. Here, just as a kind of overview where we are all based. I am from Germany here. It's in the middle of Germany. It's Barth Haas in Nuremberg. In Germany, we also have the biggest hop pelletizing and extraction plant. We have a small extraction and distillation plant in the UK. We have our sister company to have it wherever they want. So if they want to drink or eat at home, they want to have the same experience as they would get if they go into restaurants, into a brewery, into a special facility, a circus or something else. So enjoyment everywhere in flexible spaces is really important. We translated this, so this is the Mintel Global Food report. We translated this later on, but before I will come to our interpretation, oh no, this is our interpretation, sorry. So with our interpretation, we translated it into these 4 categories, what people are looking for. The first category is active nutrition. With active nutrition is meant the combination of eating and drinking together with having sports. So to be as much as possible efficient, to don't waste time by making food if you could have instead of exercises, so to combine it together. Then we have on the right bottom, right top corner, the mindful consumption. Mindful consumption means, as Mintel already mentioned, all the ingredients should be produced in the right way, organic, environmental friendly, climate focused on the climate changes. The taste experience is what I also mentioned, is to have this experience everywhere. To, for example, think about Brazilian fruit, which German wants to taste. You can see the global trends in the middle, and some smaller related small trends, not global trends, which are related to all the different global trends. If we have a closer look into the global trends, as I'm from a hop merchant, I want also to point out where we as hops can really deal with. The first point, I don't know if you have heard about local, which means having local resources or having local experience on local resources. This is something we can offer, because hops are grown nearly everywhere in the world, and you can have local grown hops with a high flavor impact, with some international experience. I spoke to Leonardo from LNF, for example, today, and he told me that some of the famous hop varieties from the US are also grown now in Brazil, and they are really, really great in their flavor impression. So you can have really good hops from the US grown in Brazil. You're growing this? Okay. Then the enjoyment, I think some of you are brewers. I'm from my background also a brewing and beverage technologist. So if I'm talking about hops and beverages with hops, I'm always talking about enjoyment, and I like to have it. The quality is something I don't want to focus on, as I think, and you might agree, quality is one of the crucial parts, and it's a baseline for the products we are producing. So there's nothing to discuss about quality. Quality is needed. Sustainability. Yeah, sustainability is a big topic. The climate change is already there. Some people are talking about, yeah, it could be that the climate change is coming. But I know I have figures from the hop growing region in Germany where we can see that the temperature increased over the last 10 years about 1.5 to 2 degrees Celsius in the average over the whole year. And this is something we are really looking for to get climate resistant varieties with hops, as we need to have them, otherwise we don't have hops in a few years. Then health. Hops are especially used in the Middle Ages for treating people. For example, hop components have anti-inflammatory effects. They can even heal cancer. So if we're talking about xanthomol, I know that there are studies outside that xanthomol could heal cancer. The only thing we are not sure how to get the xanthomol into the bodies. So theoretically, it is possible. Practically, we are working on it. But to say or to sum it up, hops in general contain components which may help with health and being healthy. And then everyday world, I as brewer have to say everybody should drink a beer a day, but in general, it's so that we want to design beverages for every day which contains hops. Then as last slide for the trends and the ideas for why we should use hops. I mentioned 6 big points. For me, the most important point is especially brewers know how to deal with hops. So this is a kind of USP, which you as brewers
E o lúpulo é o ingrediente multifuncional
think it's only a matter about time to see the developments also here in Brazil. Very often we are talking about the US. The US market is different also to the European market, but we can see similarities. So it's always good to be a step ahead, to know what could be in future and to prepare ourselves in this case. Because if we are prepared, we are able to survive or even make it better than others. Okay, therefore I want to show a new beverage category which is focused on hops, which is an actual trend and a growing market in the US. I want to talk about hop water. Here's just a short overview about different brands in the US. I know that there are many, many more in the US. The first one is H2 Ops. This one is the first brand which was invented, I think, in 2015. I can't remember exactly, by a home brewer, and they made it successful. One of the biggest brands is Hop Lark, with different varieties, and Lagunitas is one of the well-known hop waters, which is produced by Lagunitas brewery. So Lagunitas and Sierra Nevada, for example, they are feeding this hop water trend actually. How to produce hop water? In general, I would say we have two different ways of how we can produce hop waters. One is the more traditional way, by using pellets. And the other way is to using hop extracts. Pellets, as the hop cone just pressed into pellets, is the more traditional way, whereas hop extracts could be the more modern, the more diversified way to produce hop water. When we are talking about pellets, we have two ways how we can produce a hop water. One is a cold extraction. Cold extraction means just dry hopping. So adding hops into cold water, and then you get a flavored water, which is then called hop water. Depending on your equipment, you have two ways to go for a dry hopped hop water with a cold extraction. One way is the static dry hopping, where you open up your tank, where the water, the de-aerated water, is already in, and then you put in the hops, and after a certain time you get rid of the hops by open up the valves or using filters, separators to get rid of the blend material. There are two crucial things in general talking about hop water. One crucial thing is use de-aerated water. If we're talking about a fermented beverage like beer is, we are talking about 0.1, 0.2 milligram per liter of dissolved oxygen, whereas in water, if we don't treat our water, we are talking about 8 to 12 milligram per liter of dissolved oxygen. So it's 10 times or more higher than in a fermented beverage. And this oxygen content could lead to oxidation of the flavor aroma components, and then you will lose the biggest flavor impression. And this is something we could avoid just by using de-aerated water. And another point is I always recommend to lower the pH by adding acids before you add the hops to reduce the solubility of the bitter substances. I know in brewing, we are doing everything to get as much as possible bitter substances during boiling into solution in a hop water, which is literally water and some hop flavor. We want to avoid this bitterness impression, so therefore lower the pH before. I prefer personally citric acid as the aroma and not the aroma, the flavor profile of citric acid is better than, for example, lactic acid. I don't like lactic acid water so much, I have to say. And then you add, if you added the acids, then you can add the hops. My dosage recommendation is calculated by the hop oil concentration. So you have to take a look at your pellets and the annual certificate of analysis. There you find the amount of oil in your pellets per 100 gram. And I recommend always to add between 2 to 3 milliliters of hop oil per hectoliter. With the static dry hopping, then the contact time is between 72 to 96 hours, depending on how your how the shape of your tank is. You could also flush it from the bottom with CO2 to get the pellets back in solution. Make it cold between 0 to 15 degrees Celsius. And if you're happy with the result, get rid of the hops, open up the valves, and you can bottle it. If you do not have proper CO2 inline dosage, you could also pressurize the tanks right at the beginning of the hop addition. And then you will have the carbonization done during the time you're waiting for letting the hop pellets settle down to the conus. Another way, and the more efficient way, is dynamic dry hopping. With dynamic dry hopping, I mean you have a proper dry hopping equipment where you circulate the water and extract the hops by this circulation. There are many opportunities on the market. By using this, you will increase the utilization so that the dosage rate could be lower calculated. My recommendation is the calculation to 1.5 to 2 milliliters per hectoliter of the hop oil concentration. And depending on how you want how intensive you want to have the hop water, you can have between 5 to 15 times circulation of the tank. So the tank volume is meant. Contact time should be not longer as 72 hours. This is also up to your experience again and to your tank size. And in the end, you still have to remove the hop particles, for example, here mentioned with a separator. If we're talking about hop pellets, we could especially use some of the enriched pellets, as we then have a higher oil content compared to blend materials. So we will increase the utilization. You will not lose that much of in this case, hop water, as 1 kg of a T90 pellet could soak up to 14 liters of a liquid. So if you're dry hopping with 1 kg T90 pellets, there's probably 14 liters, at least 14 liters only in the pellets. And then you would have a theoretically 100% separation. So this is not possible. So you will spare a lot of, in this case, water or beer by using these enriched pellets. And by using our Lupomax pellets, you also have one quality aspect, especially if we're talking about a water which is not fermented or anything else. You need to have a consistent flavor profile. If you want to label, for example, Citra on your hop water, you want to have the same impression every batch by batch, year by year. And therefore, we invented its so-called Sensory Plus program, where our US guys especially have a look at every crop batch and pick out the true to type varieties and blend them together to make the Lupomax pellets, to really ensure that we have as that the impact of the yearly harvest is minimized as much as possible. Here again, it's mentioned that we have a constant lupulin content, so we have year by year the same flavor impression. The sensory plus process I already explained, as well as the reduced beer losses. And our Lupomax is, I would say, the only aroma-oriented production process in case of enriched pellets in the world. And as we want to maximize the utilization, we also have a very good dissolving behavior to make it really a constant and batch by batch reliable and consistent product. Hot extraction, I know, so I mentioned hot extraction with the pellets. I'm not the biggest fan of hot extraction. I know that most of the American craft brewers do hot extraction, so they create a kind of stock solution. I have to say, if we're talking about the hot extraction, we are talking about temperatures about 75, 65 degrees Celsius. And even at these low temperatures, there is enough utilization or isomerization of alpha acids to make the beverage bitter. And so I would not recommend to do the hot extraction, but it's done. If you want to do the hot extraction, you could add calcium chloride and calcium sulfate to reduce the sensory bitterness impression. I normally recommend 3 to 1, so 150 and 50 ppm as a dosage for the calcium chloride and calcium sulfate. What is one of the benefits of the hop extraction is that we have higher yields of terpenes and terpene oxides, which lead to a specific flavor impression, which could not be copied or mimicked by only dry hop addition. But as I said, I'm not the biggest fan of the hot extraction. Coming now to hop extracts. Hop extracts are the condensed, the enriched version of hop cones. We are not talking anymore about pellets, so more or less no solid material. We are talking about extracted hop pellets. And with the classical CO2 extraction, we are talking about a highly concentrated hop extract, which also contains a lot of bitter acids, especially alpha acids. Classical CO2 extractions are normally used for bittering, and so they are not the best products to produce a hop water, as we are not looking for bittering, we are looking for hop aroma. If we're talking about typical classical CO2 extraction, there's normally a really bad flowability, so we need to heat them up. And by heating them up, we have a proper isomerization. So again, we have more and more bitterness intake by using classical CO2 extraction. Luckily, we at Haas have the first liquid tri-hopping extract, which is like a liquid pellet. It's called Spectrum. Spectrum is 100% hop-based. We do not have any carrier in it, which is not from hops. It's reformulated. It's based on CO2 extraction, and it's reformulated to make it water soluble or water dispersible. And you do not need any tri-hopping equipment. With Spectrum, I have to say, for hop water, as it is a liquid pellet, the dosage rate is very low. So we are talking about 5 to 10 gram per hectoliter, which is quite low. my recommendation is always to use Spectrum as a kind of basic product to create a hop water base, where you then can add, for example, other botanicals, tea, for example, or other of our hop products, I'm talking about later on. With Spectrum in general, as I said, it's a liquid hop pellet, but we do not have any enzymes left, so we do not have any hop creep, especially if we're talking about the fermentation afterwards. We have more or less no losses by using Spectrum. And if we're talking, if you really want to talk about a bitterness impression, by using Spectrum, you will not lose IBUs by dry hopping. So this is something you could also, you should also consider every time we are talking about using pellets instead of CO2 extract or extract. If you're using pellets, you will always lose some of the IBUs as they stick on the plant surface, on the plant material. It's microbiologically safe, it's standardized to oil, and as I mentioned, that some of the most important thing is the oxygen content. We have nearly no oxygen intake by using Spectrum. And then the last point, before we start with the first tasting, I want to mention something about our hop oil products. Hop oil is the purest product you could get to flavor a beverage. The disadvantage of just using oil is that there's no solubility, or more or less no solubility. So you need to find a carrier, and in our range, we have so-called PHA products, which uses propylene glycol as a carrier. And with PHAs, we have a liquid-liquid dosage, so it's a liquid product. You can see here, it's a liquid product, which is easy here, which is easy to add into a water or an aqueous medium. We normally recommend to add it in line with, for example, a dip tube. And if you have a transfer time, then about 70% from one tank to another of the transfer time. Here are the dosage recommendations. We have two qualities. One quality is a top note, which means it's a variety specific product with the impact of the named variety, and PHA Classics, which is a product which creates more generic hop flavor impression. And I want now to taste this with you to see the differences and how easy it is to apply in a process. Therefore, I prepared 2 cans of water where I'm going to add first a generic hop product, which is called PHA Hull. Hull stands for different varieties out of the Hallertau. And then the other one is top note Saaz. So Saaz, you may know, is a Czech variety where we have the flavor impression of the Saaz, which mimics also a dry hopping character. Here are the benefits of it. As I said, it's highly and fully soluble. Yeah. Yeah. Then we can make the questions before we do the tasting, okay? Now. Sorry? Okay, the question was if hop water contains any alcohol. In the idea of hop water, no. It's just flavored water. So it's water flavored with hops. No alcohol, nothing else. It's aligned to the health trend. So people are looking to digest more healthy, to don't have a big alcohol intake, so it's without alcohol. It's not like a hard seltzer. It's a not hard seltzer, so without any alcohol. Could you repeat it? I always recommend to have a pH between 3.5 to 3.8. So you need to have at least 3.8 to make it more stable, microbiological stable, because with a pH of 3.8, there is no real chance for pathogen bacteria. So 3.5 is the target. Sorry, another question? Okay, good. Then we're now gonna have a short tasting. Leona, could you help? So what I did is just put it with a pipette, some PHA, and mixed it. Yeah. Maybe I have to point the shot out. So the first Leonardo is serving is the Haas, and the second one is the top note Barth. And the good thing, if we're talking about PHAs, as I mentioned earlier, brewers know how to deal with hops. All other producers know how to deal with liquid-liquid dosage. So it's really easy to use for everybody in the industry, from small to big. I know that I said the recommendation is to use an inline dosage, but we do not have a proper inline dosage at our small concept brewery, we call it. We also add it from the top. And if you add it right before a pump so that you just can mix it once. You will have a proper utilization, and you will have this nice flavor impression. So what do you think about the first sample? Is it hoppy? Yeah. More cleaner. With more floral notes. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So his comment was that the first one is it's generic hoppy. It's impactful for both, but the second one is a more cleaner aroma, which I would translate into. We are talking about more hop spicy herbal direction with the first one, whereas we have the more cleaner, fresher dry hop characteristic with the Saaz one. A comment? It's just water. So in this case, it's just water and pHa. If you change the matrix, so if, for example, you add sweetener, sugar, or something, it's getting more and more impressive. Water is the worst base to flavor, I have to say. There's nothing what could help the aroma to be more intensive. Yeah, and for sure, if you're talking about hop water, you should take care about that the chlorine is not anymore in the water. This will lead to some unpleasant flavor. No, but no, it's not bitterness. No, it's just so this here with pHa, the base is hop oil, and hop oil is the distillation of CO2 extract or pellets. So you will get rid of all the plant material, all the bitter substances. You are just evaporating the aroma and collecting the oil. So it's a distillation process. That's what I said. What I'm meant with it's the cleanest product you could get as an oil. Yeah, it's with PG. So we use propylene glycol. This is a carrier. So as far as I'm aware of, in Brazil, you're limited to 1.5 gram per liter for the PG. Yeah, this is the emulsifier. So we need to have this emulsifier. If we're talking, later on I will talk a little bit about gin. Or maybe also cachaça could be an option. If you have a higher alcohol content, the solubility is a little bit higher, but you have to be careful not to overdose it, because otherwise you will end up in a kind of this turbid. I don't know if the camera can see this. There is a slightly turbidity because this is highly concentrated. This is something which would also happen if you added oil directly into spirit, whatever it is. Okay, so I assume that we do not have any further questions about hop water. No in the chat for the online audience, also here in the round nut. Then I would like to go on with some trendy beverages. Here again, the slide with the different areas which we identified. And what I want to show you is some of the beverage ideas we already prepared and where we know that hops can really deal with. I think it's obvious, non-alcoholic beer, yeah, for sure. Non-alcoholic beer could use some hops, and I have to say, for us as hop merchants, it's always good to have the trend into more and more non-alcoholic beer, as they would need more and more hops to have the same impression like the alcohol version. So we are happy with the non-alcoholic trend. at least as merchant. I prefer regular beer, but for business, I have to say non-alcoholic beer is good. Then kombucha is a big topic. I will come to kombucha later on. My first work at Haas was a hard seltzer, where we used hops to flavor the seltzer, and then RTD and canned cocktails. So after hard seltzer, I was told that in Brazil hard seltzer is not a topic anymore. It's the same in Europe. The only people drinking still hard seltzer are the US guys. But they also changed from hard seltzers into RTD, so ready to drink canned cocktails, where we can supply, especially with hops, also with a kind of special flavor characteristic, to make a specific cocktail. Other beverages. I know that the cider market is still growing, but what we see is that there is a kind of limit now. So the increase of cider sales is not as high as it was years before. And therefore, it's even more important to have an opportunity to diversify from others. Hops have a hard challenge to be recognizable as hops in cider. But if you compare a hopped cider to unhopped cider, you can see the differences. You have more impression, more liking with a cider which is produced with hops. Doesn't matter if it is pellets or if it is PHA products. You create a more interesting product which makes you able to diversify from other competitors on the market. And as we are talking about a kind of wine, the equipment which is needed for cider production is not so complex compared to what you need, for example, to brew a beer. I don't know why in ancient times we decided to settle for beer production as wine production and cider production would have been more easier, but that's how it is. And cider production, as I said, we can also supply with Spectrum so that you're kind of finishing up your cider just by using a final aroma addition with Spectrum. Then kombucha. I think kombucha in Germany, everybody told me kombucha is going to die even 10 years ago. It was very unpleasant. It was acidic. It tastes like vinegar. So it was not really pleasant to have a kombucha. On the other hand, kombucha is growing in Germany. Health, as I said, health is a really important topic. And the probiotic effect of unpasteurized kombucha is one of the most selling points for them. But even in pasteurized versions, we can talk about the postbiotic impact. So the residual impact of the former probiotic bacteria. And by using hops, we figured out that you could enhance the flavor and mask the off flavors. The only thing you should consider if you want to use hops, don't use it together with your SCOBY. I think you do a lot to treat your SCOBY to have this specific composition of bacteria and yeast so that you have your own SCOBY, which is the most important thing for your kombucha. But if you're adding hops, as I said, we have an antimicrobiological effect. You will lower the content of gram-positive bacteria, and this will lead to a different flavor impression. So use hops after after the first fermentation. So maybe in the bottle, or if you have a second fermentation in the tank. For all the ones who are already producing any fermented beverage, which could be infected by the SCOBY, I know that there are institutes outside which can supply a specific composition of this SCOBY. So you can make your own SCOBY to make it reproducible and to ensure that you don't have the enemy in your fermentation facility. And here, one of the points I also want to talk about is the potential for biotransformation. I know biotransformation is a kind of buzzword. Everybody's talking about biotransformation, and nobody knows about it. Biotransformation means that by, for example, the yeast, some of the aroma components will be changed into others. Everybody in brewing is actually looking for thiols. Everybody is crazy about thiols. So sulfury flavor components, which have a high impact on fruitiness. But there are also other processes which happen during fermentation, and you can also create a more citrus-like flavor impression, for example, by the biotransformation of linalool to citronellol, which then is which then leads to a more citrusy-like impression, and this is a high potential. All the GMO yeasts which are on the market in the US are also looking into DNA sequences of these bacteria. So if we are using these bacteria for the fermentation, we don't have to have GMO because they are existing as bacteria and can create these nice and fruity flavors. Here is the recipe idea. You need, for kombucha, I think it's mentioned in the word, you need to have a char, so a tea. We normally use a mixture of green and black tea. The dosage is between 5 to 8 grams per liter, and the sugar content between 50 to 100 grams per liter. Depending on if you want to pasteurize it or not, you could also decide if you want to go for a more consumer and mass product. So if you end up with about 40 gram residual sugar, you will have a really nice and pleasant drink. The only thing you should consider is that you pasteurize it afterwards, because the residual sugar is going to be fermented, and then you will end up with alcohol. So yeah, I'm talking about a non-alcoholic version, or 0.5 version of kombucha. But it's still the same if you want to have a hard kombucha with about 5 or 6%, then you still have the same potential for using hops in it. And yeah, I mentioned it already, make your own SCOBY. And if you want to flavor it, you can use nearly every of our products, so Spectrum, Lupomax, and also PHA to flavor it. And we are already also in the trialing phase for a PHA product, which supports your kombucha by reducing the vinegar-like taste, and we call it masker, PHA masker. Okay, questions so far? Oh. Okay, then diversification of beverages by using hops for classic carbonated soft drinks. What we did over the last years, we presented every year new kind of lemonade. Still, the demand for carbonated soft drinks is increasing. I have to say, it doesn't matter if it contains sugar or some other sweeteners. I personally prefer the sugar version of it. And you can, depending on the product you're looking for, you can even balance the sweetness by adding some of the bitter substances. Later on, I have tonic water with me, which is produced 100% by hops. So we exchange the bitterness of quinine by using hops and flavored it with PHA top note cascade. Yeah, this is a kind of recipe example. And again, you have the opportunity to diversify by using a hop aroma to make it more complex, or to even create a 100% hop aroma lemonade. And it still works as well with cola. With cola, the only thing you have to think about is the phosphoric acid and the really low pH, which could lead to some flavor impact problems. So therefore, we recommend to use pellets, as PHAs would work, but they are not the best product. Yeah, there's a question in the chat. Wait, give me a second. Give me a second. Yeah. Yeah. I have to say, I think it's depending on what you're looking for, but I would use it to enhance the flavor of the fruity components. Yeah, because with PHAs, a 100% hop aroma is hard to detect. So yeah, and with PHAs, I recommend to add it right before bottling. Okay. Questions to the Coca-Cola? No. Yeah.
Na composição dela, correto? Ah. Será que isso, numa cachaça, vamos supor, numa cachaça de umburana, que está com pouco tempo de maturação, então eu quero realçar mais as ligninas, o sabor da umburana.
Don't have any experience with sorry. It could work, but I don't want to say yes or no. So, but I have some samples. Then you can trial it, because I think it should work. You will never get rid of the taste by using PHA, only a little bit due to propylene glycol, but the aroma, you will change the aroma definitely by it. But yeah, we will talk about it later.
You said you don't have any experience about cachaça.
Yes.
But you probably have tried with gin. And
yes.
What the results within that lot of botanicals?
Yeah, so it's depending on the way you're producing gin. With gin, you can flavor it, for example, by mixing it with oil. This is a possible solution, and then it depends on what oil you're, for example, looking for. With a lower dosage, you enhance the flavor, as this green grassy aroma might be not detectable directly, but enhances, for example, the fruitiness, the lemon-like characteristic, the profile. With higher dosage, you can create a more spicy impression, also depending on the product you're using. For example, we have PHA in the classic range. We have floral and spicy, where aroma components. So this is fractionated hop oil. And these aroma components then help to make it more spicy. And this is, if you're, for example, doing it with pellets, if you then distillate it, you will get also some of the fruity aroma components of the hops. I, for example, distilled a vodka with pellets. Okay, I used too much, but in the end it was really impressive, green, grassy, refreshing, and easy to use for mixing cocktails in combination with, for example, red fruits or citrus fruits. Yeah, if you're using pellets in a maceration, you always have to think about the blend material. So it's also about your distilling equipment. If you're not able to get rid of the pellets afterwards, it's not the best idea to use pellets before distillation. Therefore, I would then recommend using oil. So it's, yeah, it depends on the equipment you have. The easiest way for sure is to add it after or right before bottling, but this is, yeah, depending on which kind of gin you're looking for. I know that there are several options to create a gin. You've also a question, or you're good?
He's asking if before the distillation, it's better to use the
pellets. Yeah, yeah. So his question was, if you want to add hops before distillation, if it's better to use pellets, I would say yes, because then you get our hop oil products are already distilled. So we have a loss of some specific aroma components compared to a pellet, as they are not able to be transferred into the final oil, as some of them are too volatile, so we will lose them. We are not able to catch them with our processes. So I would then recommend to use the pellets before distillation, or Spectrum. You can also use Spectrum. I had some good experience with Spectrum, and a Spectrum, it's very thick. Yeah, it's like a paste. But what you could do is pre-disperse it. So that's also what I would recommend if you want to use it in other processes. Take the Spectrum, pre-disperse it to really get everything from Spectrum. I think we're talking about a highly concentrated product, so we don't want to waste anything. Pre-disperse it and then put it in the fermenter in the application you are looking for. But this is it's also, so my basic recipe for non-alcoholic gin, so water distilled gin, was based on Spectrum. With about, now I have to think, 0.3 gram per liter of in the distillation phase, or in the maceration. Non-alcoholic gin, yeah. In Europe, everybody is talking about non-alcoholic products. Yeah, it sounds crazy, but yeah, it's a big topic. All the big brands are looking for non-alcoholic gins, and there is also hops are a good opportunity to round up the flavor profile of it. It's a flavored water, yes. not a hop water, gin spice flavored water, if you may call it that way. And then last but not least, in this kind of beverages, fermented beverage, again, meat. And with meat, I already brought some samples with me. Leonardo, if you could help me, yes. I know that session meat is called hydromel here in Brazil, so a lighter version, yeah, of fermented honey beverage. In Germany, we only know the classic meat, 15% alcohol, headache afterwards, and not really tasty. I know that there are better examples outside, and therefore we had this year in the inspiration range a session meat, hydromel, with 5% ABV, and we can create again a more complex bouquet with it. It's easy to put into production, and we can even have a higher utilization by adding pellets into a meat because we have the higher alcohol content. In this case, I have also the recipe later on. With this example, I used hop aroma. Hop aroma, it's called in Brazil. Hop aroma mosaic. Aroma hop. How?
Aroma hop.
From the variety mosaic and spectrum mosaic. I heated up the meat or the honey water mixture. There I added in the aroma hoppy, and in the middle of the fermentation, so the fermentation lasts for 10 days. In the middle of the fermentation, I added spectrum mosaic for increasing the flavor and also again having some biotransformation. Yeah, the meat. We would start with the meat. Yeah. And due to the hops, we have a foam on it. Yes. Yeah, the combination of hops with the other ingredients. Which hops? Mosaic. Only mosaic. So yeah, I have to say the honey base was not the best. It was the cheapest one. Because I wanted to focus on the hop product and not on the honey. I know that the honey has a big impact, but yeah, in the end was no aroma hoppy or yeah, in the presentation it's mentioned incognito. Sorry. Oh, incognito. Yeah. I never told it. Yeah, it's the same product, but with a different name in Brazil than in the rest of the world.
You call it methylene. Huh? Do you call it methylene? The people in Palestra. No. The science name is methylene. It's called. Oh, okay. Methylene. That's a good science name.
Okay. I never heard about it. I know that the people in the sorry. Yeah, we are talking about the definition of meat with hops, and it's called officially
Methylene.
And I've never heard about this. I know that the meat producers are looking into it. In Europe, it's more of interest for the eastern part of Europe. And yeah, it's we had it on the Brau in Nürnberg last year, Braubeviale. And at the beginning, they were thinking about, okay, meat. Oh no, I don't want to drink meat. And in the end, they were standing in front of the taps and say, "Oh, I want to get another one, please," because they were quite happy. What's your feedback on this? It's highly fermented, so. Yeah. Yeah. It's okay. It's easy to drink. That's what I was looking for. It's water, yeah. This is really dangerous. You don't feel the alcohol. You're just thinking about drinking a juice. It's 5.5. You're thinking about drinking juice, and in the end, you got the result. So. But this is how the symbiosis of hops and yeast work together, and it was done with a USO5 yeast, so not really a specific yeast. And the same effect you could have by using hops in cider. Yeah. USO5. So. The champagne of American Pale Ale. So. Yeah. Kana, okay. Yeah. Yeah, you can also get this kind of fruity impression, make it more round. Yeah, this is I don't know this product, but it's a solution, I would say, for every moonshine production, to make it to a more nice and pleasant beverage. Okay. That's so far from the topics and the beverages I prepared. I now want to give a short introduction to our inspiration range, just to see what, or just to tell you which challenges we are facing with. And therefore, we had 8 beverages in our inspiration range last year. And with our communication, we were focusing on security, efficiency, and diversification. Security is, especially for contracts and for safe production. Efficiency is, as it's very obvious, it's for the efficiency by using, for example, our liquid hop products. And the diversification is where we want to inspire our customers with new kind of beverages, as I already did during the last slides. As I said, we have 4 different beers in our inspiration range beer, and 4 different beverages in the diversification range. One clue in this range is that the pale ale recipe was used to produce the non-alcoholic beer by nanofiltration. The light lager, I don't know how it is exactly in Brazil at the moment, but every craft brewer needs to have at least one lager beer to sell really beer, to ensure that the production is running and everybody's looking for lagers. And in this case, we showcased 3 new, more or less new varieties. Titan is a new bittering variety. which was released last year in Europe, so it might not be available at the moment in Brazil. Then Tango is also a new flavor variety released last year in Europe, and Marinka as it's a little bit older, but also a new and more climate resistant variety. Therefore, we also said, okay, security to ensure that we have really annual production, which is good, as some of the more traditional hop varieties facing really hard times at the moment. Here's the recipe. We decided to go for 8.9 degree Plato beer with more or less all of it Pilsner malt, some Cara Pilsner, and some special W from Weyermann. We targeted with Titan for kettle hopping to 12 IBU. And as we don't want to have a dry hop, more classic lager beer, we added Tango and Marinka 10 minutes before end of boil. We ended up with 3.1% ABV and a residual extract of 1.8. And afterwards, it was filtrated, and we used the 3470 as liquid hop for the production, for the fermentation. We used the same yeast as well for our regular lager one, international lager. We added again Titan as bittering variety and Celea and Aurora as a good replacement, for example, for Sarza. And here we had 11.8 degree Plato, a little bit more of the extra pale Pilsner malt, therefore less of the Pilsner malt. We targeted for 20 IBU, again, Titan for kettle hopping and late hopping with Celea and Aurora. We ended up with 4.9 ABV, 2.2 residual extract, and again, it was filtered, and we used the 3470 as a typical lager yeast. With our next beer recipe, we wanted to show a kind of how it's called, Hopfenweisse, Hopfenweisse with two of the, maybe you have heard about Mandarina Bavaria and the Ariana. They are not as new as the other ones, but still some of the brewers are not aware of it. And here we go for 13.5 degree Plato, 50% wheat malt to make it to a Weiss, 40% Pilsner, some Cara Pils and Munich as final addition, 15 IBU with Titan, and then we late hop with Mandarina Bavaria and tried hopped with Mandarina Bavaria and Ariana as well. Here again, the dosage by oil content is a calculation. This is one of our key points to ensure a more or less consistent aroma impression by calculating it to the oil content and not only adding it by weight. Yeah. So how exactly do you mean by time? So degrees?
We don't have fresh hops here.
Yeah.
Always working with some hops that
Yeah. So some old hops. Yeah, there is a degree. Maybe I have to find a paper. It's in general, it's very individually depending also on the of the variety, on the storage conditions. The only exact way is to analyze it directly before adding it. But I can talk with Leo afterwards and maybe send him a paper where it's mentioned, and then you can ask him for it. I know for alpha there's definitely some studies outside with the oil. I have to check it. Yeah. But with oils, the difficulties with oils is that the only thing which really reduces the oils is the oxidation. And as long as you have a proper packaging, the impact on the oil is not really high. With alpha, we are talking about a different degradation. We are also talking about different components, reaction to different components, which is not the same with oil. With oil, it might be that we have some different flavor impression over time, but one of the most important thing is the oxygen content. And if you, as long as you have a proper sealing, a proper foil, which you normally get, this should not be a big issue. But I can check it, and I will talk to Leo afterwards. And then the last one, the craft pale ale. There we were focused on efficiency, and we decided to go for a more or less 100% liquid hop beer. The only thing, we had some HBC 1090, which is a new variety. We thought about putting it in. We had to add it as pellets because there was no liquid HBC version of it. So we had to go for some pellets. But we have really good experience by using 100% liquid hop products to create a beer. Yeah. The recipe is also not too complicated. 85% Pilsner malt, some Carapils, some Unique 1, 12.5 degree Plato, and 25 IBU. And this is the same recipe which we also used to create the non-alcoholic beer afterwards. And as we come to the inspiration range, I want to taste the next beverage. It's a hop vitamin water with B vitamins, where we want to focus on the relaxing effect of hops and hop aroma components, and also with in the combination with the B vitamins. There we work together with Martin Bauer, so it's not 100% hop derived, the flavor, and we used in this case apple acid, so acidicum malicum, which is trivial name is apple acid, and we can taste this now. So in this case, it is a combination of kumquat flavor with hops. Kumquat. It's a citric fruit. Do you know kumquat? It's a small, so like this. It's a small version of an orange, a mixture of orange and lemon, somewhere in between. I think it's not a Brazilian fruit. And in this case, it's combined with Spectrum for this aroma impression, and you also create a kind of bitter taste, which I have to say leads to a more to a higher drinkability, so you want to drink more. And we used some stevia, where it is, stevia, to balance the bitterness a little bit. What do you think? Maybe this is not a pro. I don't know. In Brazil, the main issue with this beverage could be the labeling for the vitamins, as they don't like heat treatment, so it's unpasteurized. By treating them with heat, you will decrease the amount of B vitamins, and this could be an issue. I have to say, I think it's quite interesting. It's a new taste, not sweet, some bitterness. I don't know. How much do you like it? It's okay or very balanced? Good. No sweetness, yes. Good. Okay. Then the session meat. So if you want to have the recipe, it's over there. I already spoke about it. I think enough. Yeah, and the one thing I forgot to add some yeast nutrition, because I want to get the fermentation fast and clean, and so I used yeast nutrition to make it really a clean product. And then another recipe idea for a hoppy lemonade. In this case here, you can see the recipe. As it was for the fair, I said, okay, we need to have a visual highlight. So I added some spirulina algae to make it a little bit blue. And so we had a blue lemonade on our booth, and everybody was talking about blue. So this could also be an option if you have, as a brewer, for example, have a tap room. You can easily prepare a recipe like that, and you get people talking about it if they don't want to drink beer. And then as last recipe, our non-alcoholic beer, which I said is based on the recipe of the pale ale. The only thing we changed is as we have an increase and then concentration for the bitter substances, we only added for 10 IBU flags at the beginning to end up with 25 IBU in the end. Okay. That's so far from my side. Are there any questions?
Do you think that it's possible to use the same ideas for a radler?
To combine the lemonade, yeah. You have to think about the flavor composition at all, but we used this also to mix it with our lager, and then we had the radler, hoppy radler. Another idea for a radler could be to make a hop water, so to make a water with an extraction, maybe of pellets, or adding PHAs, and diluting it, using it to dilute regular beer. Then you have an easy produced radler, which is not sweet, which smells like a pilsner with only half of the ABV, and you're done. Yeah, yeah, it works. So the color with the blue impression and the yellowish beer, this was not the best idea, but yeah, it worked quite well. Okay, are there any questions online? No questions online. Then thank you very much for listening. For the audience here, I have one final beverage left, the hop tonic water. We can taste, and so I have to say thank you. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, we will make it here, okay? Then because then I will finish the presentation and then we can talk about it and mix it and see what we're doing. Yeah, good. Thank you very much.
Para mim não. Para mim é paulada mesmo. Thank you to share your knowledge, your time with us. Ok. Vamos lá. Obrigado, Markus, por compartilhar seu tempo, seu conhecimento conosco aqui nessa tarde. As portas do sindicato, da instituição, estarão sempre abertas para poder receber esse tipo de iniciativa, esse tipo de conhecimento. Para nós todos aqui que vivemos bebida, né? É muito importante ter acesso a conteúdo de ponta, com alta tecnologia e com possibilidades. Saio daqui hoje, tenho certeza que os colegas também que estão conosco, tanto presente quanto online, um pouco melhor do que entramos. Muito obrigado. E para não falar que nós não te demos bebida, a gente trouxe uma cachaça de presente para você levar. De mão vazia você não vai embora. Obrigado.
I hope it's right. Muito prazer.
Muito prazer.
Muito prazer. It was a pleasure.
It was a pleasure.
Yeah. Okay. It was a pleasure. Thank you.
The pleasure is ours. Thank you very much.